Welcome to another episode of SOS Discussions, and after much anticipation, the Brooklyn Nets have lived up to the hype, so it seems, after knocking off not just the Lakers, but also the Clippers and running through the West Coast. And it begs the question, doing this without Kevin Durant, are the Brooklyn Nets the best team in the NBA? I'll start off with Jamar.
I believe right now, with the way the current construct in terms of who's healthy and who's not in the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets are the best team in the league. Now, you can also look at the Utah Jazz, the Clippers, other teams, the Lakers. Obviously, they're without Anthony Davis right now. But the key thing I want to touch on, I'm not going to take up too much time, but Kyrie Irving said to James Harden, "You are the point guard." And for me, when I was looking at this situation, I was like, man, KD, Harden, two teammates, great scores, that's going to work. But when Kyrie comes into the frame, what's going to happen? And we've had an opportunity to look at Kyrie and Harden by themselves without KD. And that was really the two I was worried about when those personalities going to come together. And obviously Kyrie is really being able to say, let's go, because we look at what Kyrie has done post LeBron. It's always about being, I'm the guy. I want to go to Boston and be the guy and win a championship. And you're really seeing Kyrie come into his form in terms of being a teammate and being there to win an actual championship without LeBron. And he's doing that by really putting guys in their place, by basically saying, look, James Harden, you got to run the offense because that's the way we're going to succeed. And I think right now, if Kyrie can keep being like Kyrie in terms of not just a basketball player, but the personality and teammate for those around him in Brooklyn, I think the sky's the limit. Now, it's going to be crazy when Anthony Davis comes back in the frame and maybe, we get into the final situation. But right now, the Brooklyn Nets are the best team in the league. And, man, when KD comes back, it's getting even scarier.
Definitely got to agree with you on that, Jamar. I think looking at this question, you have to look at the West being the best conference in the NBA. And so with that, when you're measuring, you use the West as a measuring stick for any team in the East who wants to be the best. And so when you look at how the Nets have been playing against Western Conference teams, top teams in the West, they're showing that they are the best right now. Now, coming into the Harden trade, I think there was a lot of criticism about can they all do it offensively together. And we all expected for them to be an offensive juggernaut. And they've been playing up to that, I think, standard so far. Defensively, it started off pretty rocky for them. But I think here lately, they found a way to put it together on the defensive end. I think the scariest thing was seeing them give up 147 points to the Cleveland Cavaliers. That won't ever sit right with me. I don't think it'll ever sit right with anybody else either. But we've since then seen them kind of get it on the defensive end. And so I'm interested in seeing how they can keep that flow going throughout the rest of the season. But I think they have something special right now with KD, Kyrie, and James Harden.
So to answer your question, no, the Brooklyn Nets are not the best team in the league, but they are the hottest team in the league at this point. When you look at the recent West road trip they went on, they won 5 games, 4 of those without Kevin Durant. They have games this week against the Kings and the Magic, which they should be favored in both of those games. But I'm still going to roll with the Los Angeles Lakers as the best team in the league, right? They are missing 2 of their best players. Obviously, they have LeBron, but they're missing Anthony Davis and Dennis Schroeder, which is a huge loss, right? When you talk about what he does for the Lakers and also that team, he provides a secondary playmaker to LeBron like they had last year with Rajon Rondo. They really don't have that this year. And also, so he can set up the offense alongside LeBron or when LeBron is on the bench. And also, he provides a dynamic scorer, somebody that can go get his own shot at any point, which they really don't have besides maybe Kyle Kuzma, and that's iffy at times. But when you look at the Brooklyn Nets and what they've done, like I said, they're the hottest team in the league. They're the only team that's beaten every top contender in the league on the East. They've beaten the Bucks, the 76ers, the Pacers, the Celtics, and then on the West, they've beaten the Lakers, the Clippers, the Jazz, everybody. But I still am hesitant to say they're the best team in the league because of 2 things. One, their defensive issues. And I think their defensive issues are a little overrated because, one, they can almost outscore everybody in the league. And I think that they sit down and buckle down on defense when they need to. But 2, I think maybe a bigger issue than the defense is the rebounding, right? And I still think they need to make some moves in the buyout market, get some depth for DeAndre Jordan, or figure out who's going to start at center because they're playing small a lot right now and they're getting killed not only on the rebounds, but also in the offensive boards, giving teams a lot of second chances, right? Mia talked about giving 147 points to the Cavs. I mean, they're one of the worst defensive teams in the league and are able to overcome it because of their offensive firepower. But right now we're talking about regular season games in February. In the playoffs, and as the season goes on, when these games start to get tighter, when you start to play more in the half court and there's not that much transition, we don't know how this team is going to play, right? And this team, because James Harden has taken a back seat and assumed more of a point guard role, the chemistry has meshed a little bit better than we thought it would. But I still see some times where I see a lot of hero ball out of Kyrie. At the end of games, when it gets late and it gets crucial, we even saw in that Clippers game where the Nets were up, and then Kyrie just kind of starts taking all these questionable shots and allows the Clippers to get back into it, right? So we've seen a lack of an ego from KD. We've seen a lack of an ego from James Harden, but we haven't necessarily seen that concession from Kyrie Irving yet. And he's playing great. He's averaging almost 30. But it's going to take concession from all three of them at different times for it to work the best way. And we just haven't seen that from Kyrie yet. So I'm hesitant on saying they're the best team in the league yet. They're the hottest team right now. But until I see them in some closer, more contested half-court games, and especially in the playoffs, I'm still going to give the benefit of the doubt to the Lakers, who are the defending NBA champions.
Yeah, definitely great point. You brought up the fact that they are hot against great teams. They're currently 12-4 against teams with a winning record. But the Los Angeles Lakers, who they did just beat, are not at full strength. They are missing two of their most critical pieces. I wanted to hear from my other co-host. How do you feel about maybe a healthy Lakers versus a healthy Nets?
When I look at this matchup, I look at who's been war tested. And I look at the Lakers. Obviously, they won the championship last year. So there's no question who's clutch, who can play in the playoffs. The Lakers can do that. But then when I look at the Brooklyn Nets, you look at KD. We can have different opinions on that. I know we have different opinions on that, but I haven't seen him do it on a team he wasn't with a juggernaut on. And you can make an argument this is a juggernaut. But I will say this, though. I'll say KD for sure is going to be able to play in a complementary role at times or not have to be that guy at all times. You see what I'm saying? James Harden, will he be able to deflect on the draw sometimes? I think he will, but will he be able to rise to the occasion? That's another question mark. We saw him make one defensive play last year in the playoffs, but have we really seen James Harden play in the playoffs? And then we look at Kyrie Irving. Of course, he's hit one of the greatest shots in playoff history, finals history, but can he do that not as the guy? You know what I mean? Ever since he left Cleveland, it seems like I need to be the guy. I feel as though in these last minute, these last second things, are we really going to see Kyrie Irving let KD dribble the ball around? We still have to see. I feel like just seeing Kyrie Irving say that he's not the point guard is the most progress I would have ever thought I would see out of Kyrie Irving this whole season. So if he's willing to do that much, man, the sky's the limit. So I think the Brooklyn Nets can do it. I mean, obviously, I think they're more talented than the Lakers when it comes to star firepower. I think that's obvious. I mean, obviously, I think LeBron James is the greatest out of all of them, the best out of all of them. But you think about the amount of star talent right there, it's the most. So I think the Nets can beat them. But I don't think when it comes down to the gritty, the war-tested individuals, they're going to be able to match up with the Lakers. So I still got the Lakers.
Yeah, I think that the Lakers and the Nets favor a match up favorably, especially for the Lakers, right? Because when you think about it, like when you look at it, nobody can guard KD in the world, right? And really James Harden and Kyrie, your hope with James Harden and Kyrie is that they're inefficient, which James Harden has been very inefficient at times. Kyrie is hit or miss. Kyrie has those games where he goes 13 or 15, and then Kyrie also has those games where it's like, what is Kyrie doing, right? But when you look, I think the key and the X factor, which it has always been, is Anthony Davis, right? Because you have a player that can play the 4 or the 5. You can put him in a big lineup at the 4 and then have a 5 next to him. There have been rumored to be looking at DeMarcus Cousins or just any 5, or you could play small ball, which the Nets like to do. So you attack their lineup with your small ball, and you have Anthony Davis at the 5, and he can play inside and outside. So I think that the X factor is Anthony Davis. And if Anthony Davis is playing up to his full potential, then I still think the Lakers are the best team in the league, because there's not anybody in the league that can do anything with Anthony Davis when he's on, right? But if he's not, then I think the Nets are the best contender in the league to the Lakers because of the offensive firepower they have. And the fact that if you're going to switch everything, then the Nets can simply just pick who they want to play one-on-one with, right? And if you're going to switch against them, then you got KD in that pick and roll going against who he wants to. Your weakest link on defense. You got Kyrie Irving going against your weakest link on defense. You got James Harden going against your weakest link on defense. And if that happens, then they're going to be unbeatable because those are three of the best one-on-one offensive players we've ever seen. So I think the Nets are the best contender in the league to the Lakers. I still give deference to the Lakers because of Anthony Davis and the mismatches he creates.
And last word, Mia, who you got? Healthy Nets, healthy Lakers?
I'm going healthy Nets with this one. I feel like Anthony Davis changed the dynamic for the Lakers. However, I think KD is more of a game changer for the Nets. And so I think KD might stay healthier than AD probably will now. And like John said, it just changes the flow of everything. I think with KD and James Harden and Kyrie, two of those three are going to be on every night. They seem to be building their chemistry with the rest of their teammates to get other players involved. And so I think when it comes down to it, you have those three vets who are stars. And I think with AD, you still get the same star firepower out of them, but I'm going to give the edge to the Knicks.
And there you have it.
Okay.
But
I was just going to say really quickly, too, and we didn't talk enough about the combination and the players that they have around those stars, right? The Joe Harrises, the Jeff Greens, right? Even DeAndre Jordan, but really those two specific, the wing defenders they have players that are going to come in, they're willing to play defense, and they're willing to just stand in the corner or stand on the wing and knock down those open threes when it's their turn. So I think the Nets have done a great job of not only getting those three superstars to buy in and do what they need to do, but also getting players around them that fit their skill sets.
Yeah, there you have it. The Nets are blistering, but they still have to watch out for the defending champions in the Los Angeles Lakers. This has been SOS Discussions. Remember to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend. We'll be back with y'all next time.